How y'all doing, fam? This is Chris Rao with Media TV, and I'm gonna be dropping this video. It says Kentucky work requirement for Medicaid raises question for recipients. I'm gonna let y'all watch this video.
On Friday, Kentucky became the first state granted permission to mandate work requirements for those receiving Medicaid benefits. The new requirements affect approximately 350,000 adult recipients in the state aged 19 to 64. About half of them already have jobs. The changes do exempt certain groups, including pregnant women, full-time students, and the medically frail. And the state will also begin charging recipients a monthly premium based on income. For more on what this means for Medicaid recipients in Kentucky and other states, I'm joined from Washington, D.C. by Amy Goldstein of the Washington Post. You've been reporting on this, Amy. First, what's the impetus behind this? Why make these changes? Why was Kentucky first in line?
Well, the idea of requiring people on Medicaid to work or do some other kind of community engagement, as the term of art goes, has been something that many Republicans and other conservatives have been eager to do for years. It started with welfare reform 20 years ago and then moved into food stamps, now called SNAP. The notion that people who receive certain government benefits should have to do something in exchange for getting that help. But it's never been part of Medicaid before, which is, of course, health insurance for low-income people in this country. And a number of states had asked for federal permission to do this during the Obama administration and always been rejected. But under the Trump administration, there's been much more sympathy for this idea. And as you said, Kentucky just became the first state to get permission on Friday.
There was Medicaid expansion in several states, so that increased the number of people in states like Kentucky that were receiving Medicaid. So I'm assuming that also costs the state more. Is this partly motivated by the state wanting to try to decrease those costs?
It absolutely is. Governor Matt Bevin, when he was running for office in 2015, campaigned on this issue to a large degree, and he said that the Medicaid expansion should be reversed. Kentucky had been one of the states, the only southern state that had seriously embraced the Affordable Care Act and had expanded Medicaid, and a lot of people, now close to 500,000 people, have joined as a result. So first, Governor Bevin thought that he would get rid of that expansion. They decided instead to keep the expansion, but require people in that group and other able-bodied adults in the traditional Medicaid group to work or go to school or do volunteer work or otherwise engage in their communities in order to keep those benefits. And they estimate that there will be a reduction in people on the Medicaid rolls as a result, saving the state money. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing really depends on your point of view. Governor Bevin says that people will be leaving Medicaid because they'll be working their way out of poverty and won't need the program anymore. However, the critics of this idea say that people will be bounced off Medicaid for either not meeting the requirements or meeting the requirements but failing to document to the state that they do so.
Roughly how many people do the critics say would be bounced off the Kentucky Medicaid rolls?
Well, I haven't seen any projections as to how many will be bounced off this, by the critics. The state itself estimates that by the end of 5 years, which is the length of this experiment that the federal government is letting Kentucky try, there'll be perhaps 95,000 fewer people on Medicaid than there are today.
All right, as you said, this is an experiment the federal government is letting them try. What about the other states that are in line with some ideas of their own, or ones that might not be in line now but are watching Kentucky closely?
Well, it's interesting because when the federal government announced on Thursday that they were going to allow this kind of work requirement in Medicaid, there were already 9 or 10 states that had submitted applications to be allowed to do this. So Kentucky is the first, and the expectation is that there'll be others. Perhaps the next will be Indiana, is what I'm hearing, that soon will be allowed to follow suit. And even in the day after this was permitted, there were 2 more states that said, yeah, we're interested too. So there could be quite a wave of predominantly Republican-led states that are thinking about doing the same thing.
All right, Amy Goldstein of the Washington Post, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be with you.
How y'all doing?
One of the great successes of the...
How y'all doing, fam? Sorry about that. But, yeah. That shit, what they was just talking about work requirement for the Medicaid, talking about the able body and stuff like that. Basically, what they're saying is, and this is a clear cut to the black family, because they say low income and stuff like that. So they talking about they projecting within the next 5 years, 95,000 people will be cut off this program. And see, what they don't understand is people that are you know what I'm saying, like special needs, most of them are not able to have a job because they're not in their right mind. That's why it's called special needs, and they need Medicare for their treatment so they can be helped. So you telling me if they can't get a job or do some community work or stuff like that, and especially this is a target on the elderly people as well. The elderly people that's sick and that can't do nothing. So you telling me if they can't do anything or go get a job just because you fucking racist motherfuckers that's in a goddamn office talking about saving the government money. What the fuck? Saving the state money. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. How the fuck you gonna save y'all some goddamn money if y'all don't spend, if y'all get government funding and y'all don't spend that money? Y'all don't get more funding like that. Y'all funding don't increase. You have to spend that funding that you get before the year is out. They have to do something to spend that money. But it's just a clear cut to the black family that talking about if you can't get a job or if you can't work or you can't do anything within your community and stuff like that or whatever that's going on. What if you're homeless? What if you're homeless? You feel what I'm saying? Being homeless, you're trying to make sure that you have a place to lay your head at, trying to get by through the next day and try to make sure you stay alive. You know what I'm saying? So this is a cut. It's a cut attack on us, the black family, y'all. But fuck these racist motherfuckers and fuck these damn devils. We just gonna have to start back, moving back with each other. Start having like 5 or 6 bedroom homes, and start we're gonna have to start moving our parents and stuff like that back in, because these motherfuckers are out to fucking kill us. They're out to kill us. They're out to make sure that our numbers die, because they're mad because their numbers are dying faster and ours are getting a lot better, been getting better. So this is just an attack on us. But fuck these racist motherfuckers and fuck these damn devils. All right, fam, I'm out.